I talk about going out in the woods and sitting around and talking to trees. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way you learn what makes a tree look like a tree. Spend some time with nature. Let it become your good friend.
If you wish Bob Ross were hosting this podcast, join the club. Me, I could hang back and hand Bob his show notes, make sure his mic was working, maybe fluff his hair between segments, feed Peapod some pecans. Yep, if Bob Ross was hosting this podcast and I was just his butler, I'd be in heaven just like you. That soothing voice, the boundless knowledge, and think of the conversations about art. Bob talks to Banksy. Bob talks to Bill Murray and Billie Eilish. And forget about people.
And if you want to talk to a tree, that's your business. You go right ahead. You talk to him if you want to. I've been known to do that several times.
In the 21st century, this is all the Bob we have access to. 403 public television episodes of friendly banter, baby animals, dad jokes, and magic making that we can paint along with, fall asleep to, and watch to our happy little hearts' content. But a Bob Ross podcast, simply by the laws of nature, that has to be hosted by someone else. And that someone else turned out to be me.
Ron Scalzo and Bob Ross. Isn't that a match made in heaven?
It kind of suits you because you've taken so many different twists and turns. I've learned to expect the unexpected with you more than probably anybody else.
One particular Halloween, you carved pumpkins with my very small children. I mean, you're Mr. Halloween anyway.
Yeah.
But I just remember you being so excited, and they were so excited watching you, and you all partook in making different faces on your
that's awesome.
on your pumpkins.
You are an artist. You are a musician. You love film like I do. I think all of us, I think everyone you're going to speak to today are a little bit weird and different, and I think that's why we became such close friends.
Think like a tree. Because if you're an artist, you can do things like that. People expect you to be different.
Was becoming a Bob Ross podcast host my destiny, or just a happy accident? Either way, I take my role seriously, sharing inspiring stories from Robert Norman Ross lovers, and spreading the gospel of Bob. And in this almighty episode, I'm heading back to the homeland, the place where I first experienced the joy of painting, Brooklyn, New York, to do something a little different. I'm reintroducing my childhood friends to Bob Ross. We'll have some fun, learn a few lessons. Maybe we'll even toss around a little joy.
Did you ever think you and I would be sitting in a car going over the Outerbridge crossing while I was interviewing you about Bob Ross?
Actually, who knows? Strange things come up when you and I are in a car. We've had a lot of good, strange experiences driving through this world.
Will you...
See, just getting you to giggle like that brings me joy, Ron.
Well, there you go.
A Ron chuckle is worth a lot of money.
And we'll do the thing. Painting Bob's Northern Lights together inside the home of certified Ross instructor Lauren Pantos.
It's a little bizarro that you're painting with Bob Ross.
I actually disagree completely. I would
Ronnie leading a
if
Ross
someone
painting
put
party.
in an envelope and they wrote down 5 years, 10 years ago
No.
that Ronnie Scalzo would be leading a Bob Ross podcast paint-a-thon in some random person's house, I'd say I could definitely see that. Why not? First of all the people who are here right now, he's the only one I would have picked to be doing this. If you said someone is going to be doing exactly what we're doing today, of all your friends, who's it going to be? You'd get 9 out of 10.
Well,
9 out
if
of 10.
you say it that way, of course. Who would it
That's
be?
my
It's going to be Ronnie.
9 out of 10 people would pick Ronnie, but it wouldn't work otherwise. If Lloyd was doing this, it wouldn't be the same.
Right, it feels like a good
This is
fit.
what's expected, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Your family and friends will look at you like you're a little weird, but that's all right. Artists are expected to be a little different. But it really helps you. If you make up little stories, then you can see these things in your mind. And anything that you can see in your mind, very quickly, you can learn to put on canvas.
All right, so we're on the way to the Bob Ross painting experience. We're driving from Pennsylvania to Brooklyn. I left New York 6 years ago, but I always come back year after year to see family and old friends. Over the years, getting together has grown more complicated. We've spread out since the days of living a few miles from each other. So to get to paint like Bob Ross with these cats requires some planning and a roadmap. A flight from Nashville to Philly, then a 2-hour drive north to rural Pennsylvania, where one of my old buddies scoops me up so we can head to the big city together, to the paints and the palette knives.
My name is Anthony LaSala. I am from the amazing city of Brooklyn, New York, and I am a director of photography. I work with photography every single day of my life, finding images and producing photo shoots for all these different brands.
Now you just did Brooklyn.
That's the old school Beastie Boys Brooklyn. That's how we would normally say Brooklyn when we refer to it, even though a lot of people think you should be saying it in a deeper voice.
Well, you said you kind of went up an octave.
Yes.
I was like, it's more like Brooklyn.
No, I think it's Brooklyn. Brooklyn.
No sleep till!
Growing up in Brooklyn was incredible. I will always think of Brooklyn and New York as home. I think it's part of our DNA, and being in New York City really had an incredible effect on me.
One of the reasons we all have fond memories of New York was that we all were born into the era of pre-cable television. WNET, or Channel 13 as us kids knew it, broadcasting from nearby Newark, New Jersey, was one of 7 available options on our ancient sets. The morning lineup typically included Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, The Electric Company, oh, and on weekends, this guy.
Hello, I'm Bob Ross, and I'd like to welcome you to the joy of painting. This is a wet-on-wet painting technique, and each week I'll take you step by step through a beautiful oil painting. If you've been with us before, I'm glad to see you again. If this is your first time with us, drag up your paints and your big brush. Come along and paint with us.
We had PBS on all the time when I was a kid, especially in the morning. Nerd. We completely did. My mom would put it on in the morning, and I would certainly watch Bob Ross. We sort of had an interest in art and photography when I was a kid, so my mom really loved sitting there and watching him as well. I also liked it because it was slightly strange. He was an interesting guy, and not a guy you would see walking around Brooklyn for sure.
I like doing little swamp scenes. Of course, I like to go out in the swamp and just watch the creatures out there, the little animals and everything. They're a lot of fun. Big old alligators are where I live. Some big old alligators.
You know, here's this hippie type of dude painting every single day, making things look easy in terms of becoming an artist. It was a show I actually really loved watching as a kid. In New York, you're surrounded by incredible artwork. You have access to these amazing museums, the Met, MoMA, the Guggenheim, and you're able to see priceless works of art any day of your life. But at times when you're in those museums, you feel a little bit removed from that work. And I think seeing him on television, the way he would approach painting and the way he would approach just being an artist really spoke to me, because it felt like anyone could do this.
And I want you to be happy with what you learn and what you do. We get letters from people all over the country saying it's working for them, that they're turning out some of the most beautiful paintings you've ever seen. And they never dreamed they could even paint. And they can. And you can. You really can do this. We show you everything that you need here to do fantastic paintings.
Like me, Anthony's had his fill of urban living. He resides in the woods now, a few hours from the concrete jungle of our roots.
Growing up in New York, you dealt with so much, the traffic, the noise. Once I left that, I realized how much I had put up with living in the city, and for good reason, because it's an incredible place and one of the most amazing places on the entire planet. But once you get out of there, you realize being out in nature is just, it's incredibly healthy for me personally. I'm excited because I think, one of the most wonderful parts of his show was he always seemed to make it feel like no matter who you are, no matter what your background was with painting, you could pick up a brush and create something really beautiful in a simple way.
Then there's the guy in our group that claims he has no artistic ability whatsoever. Lloyd, I'm coming to Brooklyn. We're going to paint like Bob Ross. Are you in?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
My friend Lloyd Sabin also left Brooklyn over 2 decades ago to go live upstate with his wife and kids in the woods.
He's still part of the beauty that's ever evident in nature. It would just make him a little taller. That way he'll make a bigger splash when he hits the water.
Even though he's never picked up a paintbrush, Lloyd is up for his own long drive to the homeland.
I'll always have an attachment to Brooklyn. I'll always love it for, I don't even know why. I'll always love it because it's home, even though it hasn't been for half my life. It's the memories.
And not just for the nostalgia and the good eats. Lloyd likes to challenge himself. Surely he's confident that he can create majestic mountains, just like the ones he lives among.
Do you think you're going to ace it? Do you think you're going to make a mess? What do you think you're going to do?
I'm expecting total crap, horrible, because I have zero skills. The instructor better be good because they have their work cut out for them.
So I always assume that when people come through my door that they're going to do a good job. I am Lauren Pantos. I teach at Beginning with Children Charter School 2, where I teach art to kids from grades K through 5. And I'm also a CRI, which is a certified Ross instructor, and I've been doing that since about 2019.
Bob Ross brought Lauren Pantos and I together a couple of years ago. I memorably captured her Bob-themed watercolor painting class in an episode that featured a lot of her young students.
Did you enjoy the painting class?
Yes.
What about you?
I would do it.
You'd paint again like Bob Ross?
Mm-hmm.
What did you like the most about it?
All of it.
All of it? There wasn't one part that was your favorite?
All of it.
What about you? What about colors? What's your favorite color?
Red, blue, and I have a lot more.
You have a lot of favorite colors. Everybody has a lot of favorites.
And I think there's, even in the beginning, you say some of their names. And when I played that for them, it was Jadelyn. I remember you were like, Jadelyn's here. And Jadelyn did this like, oh, he said my name. He said my name.
I remember you telling me this, yeah.
I have a video. I sent you the video.
That's right.
And just like the pure delight on her face. It was.
She's a big podcast fan, obviously.
Oh my God. Or just like, she was at the time when it came out, she was in 1st grade. So she was on that podcast when she was 6 years old. You know, that's really cool.
All right, are you ready to paint your sky?
Yeah!
All right, quietly go to your table.
So when I teach them how to paint with dry paints, they have to wake up their paint, a little bit of water. So during that class, one kid, Ethan, who I love this kid, he just started singing. He was going, wake up, green.
What was that you were singing before? Wake up, white.
Wake up, wake up, white. Wake up, green. Wake up, colors.
And then they all picked up on that.
I love that.
And they all started doing, that was the first time anybody had ever done that. And now that is part of how I teach that lesson.
Oh, really?
It is.
Wow.
When I teach any kindergarten.
What a difference I've made.
Mm-hmm. When I teach kindergarten and I teach them how to use that paint, we now sing that song when we wake up the colors. Yeah.
Teaching little kids to wake up colors at school is one thing. But what about trying to keep old guys awake while teaching them to paint at your house?
It's actually quite often that I have a situation like this, especially since I started opening up my home to hosting. I've met a lot of really, really great people. I've become very comfortable with hosting, having just a whole group of strangers in my home.
Not all of my friends have left the old neighborhood.
It's all about food and family and friends. That's literally what growing up in Bensonhurst was like.
Ah, Bensonhurst in the old days. The Italian groceries, the bakeries, pizzerias as far as the eye can see. Jason and Denise Smoller bought a house right in the heart of it. Today they've got 2 daughters, a Labradoodle named Chloe, and a Star Wars pinball machine in the basement.
We don't want him to get lonely, so we'll give him a friend too. You know, friends are so important, not only to trees, but to us.
My mother watched it. It was cool to watch. It was calming. PBS-wise, it was that. It was, there was a chef I forget the name. That was always on.
Julia Child?
No, it was a male chef. I can't recall the name. It's
The Frugal Gourmet?
Frugal Gourmet. Thank you very much. You got it.
A little bit of olive oil in the frying pan, and put in a few cubes. I'd love to put in a cube of garlic. Wouldn't it be great? A few cloves of garlic. Put in 2 or 3, and let them begin to saute right away. Oh, the smell of garlic, all that pasta flipping around. I just love it.
A lot of the age group, the Gen Zs now, they're coming back to the stuff that we grew up with, just like we watched the Honeymooners on, New Year's Day or whatnot.
You are a blabbermouth!
I think what's old is always new again, and then you have a perfect storm of his personality and the way he presented himself, at least on television, just like a Mr. Rogers did, very similar.
Just let your imagination take you wherever you want to go. This piece of canvas is your world, so you can do anything that you want here. Anything.
Bob Ross was still on the air when J&D started dating. They've been married for 24 years. Their secret? A lifetime dedicated to enriching each other's lives.
Jason might not necessarily have loved coming to a dance show with me, but he was willing to experience that with me.
Yeah.
And I necessarily wouldn't want to go to a rock concert with him, but I would go with him.
Or I'll go with him.
And it's or you would. Most of the time you would.
You're not going to a dance show.
There's no singing or dancing at Lauren Pantos' house. But now that we're all here, it's time to get to work.
Ready to do a fantastic painting? Let's do it together then.
Northern Lights.
Yeah.
We're all novices here. What is it about this painting?
So, first of all, anytime you're working on a black canvas, it is just magical.
I love these black canvases. Some of the most fantastic things imaginable happen on them. Oh, they're just so much fun.
So you put down transparent color that you can't even see right away, which is impossible to mess up because you can't even see it. So for a beginner, that's pretty great.
I've put some, right in here, some alizarin crimson, over in here, some phthalo green, phthalo blue and green mixed all over the canvas. So it's completely covered with a thick paint. So it's all ready to go.
This is a painting that comes out, I think, really well, no matter what your capabilities are, no matter how many times you've ever held a paintbrush.
One of the fun ways to mess with first-time Bob Ross painters is to ask them to identify the paints they're about to use. Lauren's laid them out on paper at each station with their initials next to them. For instance, phthalo blue is written as PHB.
I can say that I know
Like something
what
white,
every one of these is.
phone green.
Foam green?
Phone.
Phone green.
Phone
Like
green.
telephone?
Physics blue.
Oh, so the one pH is phone and the other one is physics.
We need to, for the wet on wet technique, which is all Bob Ross's paintings, we need to first get our painting coated with a wet oil base so that everything we do after that can move around and blend. So you're going to take this guy and you're going to just, in your liquid clear, grab a touch of it on the tips of the bristles.
And thanks to Bob Ross and Lauren Pantos, a bunch of weirdos from Brooklyn begin to see the light. And a new experience among lifelong friends begins to be created.
Start with the old fan brush, go right into titanium white.
And this is where you're looking for that suntan lotion in even coat for my one lady in the audience here. Yeah. It's like putting foundation on. Okay. Do any of the gentlemen apply foundation?
Every day. Now, watch here. Let's just mess something up.
Ron.
Well, he did a bad job, didn't he? You think he would know this one?
Ron is not enough.
How many podcast episodes has he done?
We have some happy accidents sometime, but we don't make any mistakes.
Okay, so I didn't get off to a great start. You tried podcasting and painting at the same time. Anyway, I wasn't nervous. I know how this all goes. Some of the others, on the other hand.
Everything's gonna be great.
But isn't this a traditional reaction for people when they're starting?
I'm not just a CRI, I'm also a therapist. I had to talk people through.
But you're not going all the way to the left.
Nope.
Isn't that in an episode of Columbo?
I'm also a detective.
I knew it.
Everything goes to you. That's why you planted the gun. And that's why you planted the wrapping paper. And that's why you planted these paintings.
Soon, brush hands begin to loosen. Stars are dropped into almighty skies. Lessons are learned about depth and density.
Density. I'll have a milk chocolate.
It's going to unfold like magic. You just have to get these base steps down.
Yep. You should teach.
That'd be right.
You should teach us that.
Yeah, hey.
You never know, right?
Come on.
We're just putting a little secret color in for later to give us some water when the time comes.
I like the secret color.
I do too. It's about to get really great.
Crazy.
We're gonna get crazy.
It's crazy in here.
Let's get crazy.
What's that old saying? It helps to be crazy or something?
One stroke?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do 3, but
No, like at a time.
Ooh.
at a time.
Magic.
No, right?
And no painting of Alaska would be complete without an almighty mountain. Take a little bit of black, a little bit of phthalo blue. I'll even put a little Van Dyke brown in there. Very dark.
Oh, this is so fun.
I know.
How do I
you're
remove
gonna
that?
cover
What do
that
I do with this?
Um.
I hit the brush.
That's a blob.
I hit the brush on it.
Oh, okay. So
Jay,
you might want to
Jay.
just sweep that up into the
With
curtains.
that or this?
hit the
With
brush.
the
Like do that shh with that.
But try to start from right below it.
I can do this all day. Yeah, this is very relaxing.
What about low splash?
Yeah, there you go. You did.
This is how you paint like Bob Ross, Brooklyn style. The air thick with accents, the mandatory chop busting. And when you're proud of the work, you let the people know.
Mine's beautiful. Shut the hell up. I love mine.
Good.
Now then, let's have some snow just coming right down the side of this mountain. Wherever you want it to go. No pressure. No pressure at all. Just let it flow.
Nice.
Good?
Yes.
Should I
Okay.
go
Now this
now?
is the part where everybody needs to stand up and walk away from their painting and look at it from far away because it'll make you feel a lot better about your drawing. Let's see.
It's awesome from back here.
Like, look at it from here. Ooh, right? Hell yeah.
Freaking
That's so cool. Look at Anthony's.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
This
touch
looks like
it.
it's glowing. Ronnie, not bad either.
I want some bright things happening here. So I'm going to take this and begin pushing upward to create just some happy little grassy areas back here.
Check out your talent, Jay. Wow, that looks
I
good.
had to make 4 lefts to make it right.
Okay.
It's all right. You got,
You got
there.
Everything's like people. I've made so many fantastic friends with painting. I think everything's got to have friends. Trees and bushes and everything needs friends. Everybody needs a friend.
3 hours later, we're just about done. We add some finishing touches. We dip our liner brushes into our bright red. We sign our paintings, and we thank Lauren for putting up with our shenanigans. When it's all over, we do what we've always done best as a group. We go eat. The next morning, on the long ride back to the woods, my friend Anthony and I properly digest all that we've done. When you come into Brooklyn and you're not normally in Brooklyn, you don't just go to have a Bob Ross painting class. You go to get some sort of delicious Brooklyn eats, and
We've got 24 slices in the trunk.
your painting is in a box in the trunk. My painting is in a box in the trunk. How'd it go?
I think the main question I had, which was, can I walk into a room and create a painting that looks like what Bob Ross would create on his television show day in and day out? Would I be able to do that? And the answer is a resounding yes. I was able to do it with the incredible help of our instructor. I think we all walked in that room. We followed her precise details and instructions and walked out with what I feel like is a really beautiful painting. It was a great experience and something I probably would try again.
This is your world, and you can create any type of illusion that you want here. You're the boss on this canvas. You can do anything. Anything.
Looking at them after we had taken them back to our friend's house at night and then even in the morning, I became more impressed with them. I thought there were details that I didn't see earlier in all of our paintings and just certain techniques that people had used in different parts of the painting that became more apparent as you started to look at them more. I was really impressed with them as we started to look at them after some time. And that's the beauty of art also, isn't it? Being able to look at art in different times and as you're feeling something differently, as a human being, you experience art in a different way. So I think that's all part of the beauty of creating artwork.
When you paint, you begin to see things. Let them happen. Learn to compose as you paint. Learn to take advantage of what happens. We call those happy accidents. And they can be your best friend.
What am I feeling? Satisfaction. After all, I'm not Bob Ross. I'm not even a painter. I'm the host of the Bob Ross Podcast, an ambassador for joy and creativity. And my work is done here. My Northern Lights painting won't be hanging in a museum, but that's not the point. For lots of folks who love Bob Ross, it's not about making a masterpiece. It's about making a memory.
The process was cool, and maybe even opened up a couple of like portholes in my brain, which I didn't know were there, to like maybe try to do it again. And just the fact that it was us guys and Denise doing it was hilarious.
For that period of time, for those 4 to 5 hours, it really completely took my mind off of all the stress and the anxiety and the worries I had during the course of the week about work or family or whatever you're thinking about nonstop. Having that space to just focus on being creative and taking some time to try to create something beautiful out of thin air was very healing. It felt like a really a wonderful time there for sure.
Mellows you out. Somebody said that in the maybe Denise said it.
Yeah. Denise could use some mellowing out at times.
Sharing the joy of painting is not just a gift we can give to each other. It's an opportunity to treat ourselves too, to escape into a world of tranquility, magic, and good vibes. And like most of the most fun things in life, it's an experience better shared with the ones we love.
It's a family thing. To me, you guys are family. You always have been. It's going to be another, hopefully, 30 years of it. And we'll keep doing this for the next Bob Ross podcast in 2060.
Episode 200.
So with that in mind, let's just go up here and just have some fun. I'll tell you what, let's do a little winter scene today. Maybe something that's nice and chilly. Start with a little Prussian blue and midnight black. And let's just go in here and just begin dancing in some little shapes that hopefully will end up being clouds. There we are. But we'll just start and just dance in little things. Don't worry about it. Painting should make you happy.
The old clock on the dashboard tells me we've got another finished podcast episode. I gotta eat that pizza. I want to thank my guests, Anthony LaSala, Lloyd Sabin, Jason Smolar, Denise Volpicelli-Smolar, and Lauren Pantos. This happy little episode was produced with help from James Shapiro at Jansen Media and mixed by Digital Sound and Video of Daytona Beach, Florida. Support your local public television station and say thanks for giving us Bob Ross and the joy of painting. We want to see your paintings. Use hashtag #PaintLikeBobRoss. Bob Ross certified instructors, they're the only ones that know how to teach you Bob's world-famous painting method. Don't settle for second best. Find the local CRI at bobross.com and then click Take a Class. If you got your own Bob Ross story to tell, leave us a message at 866-FANBRUSH or email us at podcast@bobross.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at BobRoss_the Joy of Painting. I'm Ron Scalzo. The Joy of Bob Ross is written and produced by me, Ron Scalzo, in partnership with Bob Ross, Inc. Bob Ross Name and Images, they're registered trademarks of Bob Ross, Inc.